bringing scrotum sound as usual. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Ooh.
so it's excellent. This
it's
is high
extra
fidelity
salty.
stuff.
I didn't know it was going to be that kind of a session. I would have brought my clean underwear.
Oh, well, I
But
don't wear underwear,
Clean,
so it doesn't matter.
clean underwear is overrated.
This
Whoa,
day's
the heat
looking up,
wave
I,
baby.
continues.
I've had mine on for a month.
Oh man, he doesn't have clean underwear. You've been wearing the same pair for a month.
Well, I
Extra
mean,
salty.
I guess question.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't shit them or anything. I just
Oh,
haven't
well,
washed them in like a couple days, so
that's fine.
they're kind
That's
of
Nothing
clean.
wrong
fine.
with that. Nothing
No.
wrong
All
with
right, so
that.
we're all right.
Yeah, we're good to
Now
go. Oh,
now
I'm
the
sorry.
underwear's got
Making
COVID.
sure. Just
We're
making sure.
actually recording. I'm sorry, guys, but I
Oh,
mean,
that's
you
good.
won't mind if everyone knows your hygiene
That's
or
I
lack
think
okay.
thereof.
I do a YouTube channel. I think people have caught on by now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they
Yeah.
have.
I mean, they take a look at me, and
And they say street trash right away.
yes, exactly. I just
That's
I wear
fun.
my heart on my sleeve.
That's
Right?
good. But you don't have any sleeves right now, so there
Hmm.
you go.
I
Where'd you
wear
get
my
that?
heart
Where
on.
did you get that street trash shirt, by the way?
Dude, this street trash shirt, and not a sponsor, but this street trash shirt is on sale on Cavity Colors. I saw last week for
Oh, that's right.
$12.
Oh, I'm gonna buy it.
$12, dude.
That's awesome.
I got it. I'm pissed off because I got it before that for something more, but
I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
but it's
because I picked up a bunch of stuff. I have like Friday the 13th socks. I got Dawn of the Dead socks from them.
yeah, they're great. They're
Howling
great.
socks. I got a bunch of stuff. I love their website. They got great
What is that? Cavity.
Cavity Colors.
Cavity Colors. They have great.
Yeah.
Then they have like theme pages where you can get like the shirt as a sweatshirt, a baseball cap, socks, and a bunch of other stuff.
Right.
And they do it with different things like Halloween, Friday the 13th, and a bunch of others. So
Nice.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
great.
it's
I
a great
always like
site.
them.
It's a great site.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
it's good to plug them.
But,
So,
yeah.
welcome to the next episode of Cinema Slaughter. We have our friend Rob at from Terror at Synth High. Rob is, in case you don't know, he is probably one of the coolest guys. He does a lot of stuff for the horror community that he doesn't even. When we first met, and I've said this story multiple times, and I'll tell it again and again, he was just literally going to other locations with a DVD player, a screen that he unrolled, and sound equipment, and he was just in a cafe trying to promote horror. And I was like, "This, how did you get into doing this, and why?" And what? He's like, "I just love horror, and I just want to put it out there."
Somebody
And
That's
sold me a
dedication.
projector, and I was just like, all right, cool.
What am I going to do with this? I need to do something with it. And so I just thought that was the coolest thing. I've never seen or met anyone, before meeting you that night. And obviously, he was a horror fanatic. We became instant friends. So welcome, Rob. I'm glad your Terror at Sentai YouTube channel is really doing well. It's you're getting a bunch of viewers, and we hope to do many more of these. I wish we could do more. Things have been so crazy busy for both of us, and well, all three of us, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more of these because it's a hell of a lot of fun. So
Yeah,
welcome.
man. Thanks a lot. I'm happy to be here. I always love, hanging out with you guys, and it's yeah, it's been interesting, doing the YouTube thing and being busy, and then with everything else going crazy this year, it's been a nutsy year for everybody. So obviously,
Absolutely.
it's
Indeed.
hard to find time to get together and do stuff. But like I said, I'm happy to be here. We get to talk about some of my favorite stuff, some horror, and yeah,
Not
yeah,
just
Christmas
thanks for having me,
horror.
horror.
guys.
Tis the season, folks. So we are going to be talking Christmas themed horror movies. And it's, anytime you mix a holiday with horror, madness ensues, especially at Christmas time. There's a lot. I realized
Yeah.
I didn't realize before digging into, I'm like, I've seen so many Christmas horror movies, but I didn't really put two and two together at how many there are out there and how many bad ones there are out there. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot of bad ones out
Yeah, there
there.
sure are.
So, yeah, so we started talking about doing this for a while. The last episode that we did together, we were like, "Hey, let's talk about doing something else," and that episode didn't come to play, but we Omar and I were talking about, hey, let's do a Christmas episode. And I was like, well, if we're going to do a Christmas episode, we're going to do a top 5 and we're going to bring Rob into this and we'll just all have a great time. And Rob and I immediately, Rob and I have very similar tastes in movies, and we have a very rich history of coming up with the same damn films on, we did multiple times, and not just with our podcast, but we've done this before with just outside of the circle. So we were gonna come up with a list of 5 and go round robin like we did last time with our Slasher Mania episode. And Rob and I both said, well, we're gonna have Black Christmas on our list, and that's going to be our thing, and we're going to have that. And then obviously Silent Night Deadly
number
Night.
1.
Yeah, it's an easily if you're going to put a list together, that would have been my number 1.
That's my number 1, and then number 2, Silent Night Deadly Night.
Number 2 is going to be Silent. I mean, those are the quintessential horror, Christmas horror movies. Those are my top 1 and 2. But then I started realizing that, all right, well, if that's the case, then only Omar is going to be allowed to have, if he chooses to, he will be allowed to have Black Christmas in his list. So I immediately pulled Black Christmas and Silent Night Deadly Night from our list. So neither one of us will be able to utilize those, just for obvious reasons, because it's going to be in both of ours, and we're trying to mix it up a little bit and have a little fun with this episode. So the reason why I said this about Omar is because Omar has never seen Black Christmas.
I've never seen a Christmas horror movie.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
That's
Actually,
madness.
no. I'm sorry. I did see Krampus. So yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. But that's
you
new.
You said you saw The Children.
Yeah, but that was a long time ago. I didn't even realize that. Yeah, it was so long ago that I don't remember it being. I remember that it was a set in the snow and the ice, but I didn't realize it was a Christmas. It was a long time ago that I saw that.
Yeah, it was a Christmas.
So I am even more interested now as to what you where Silent Night Deadly. Oh no, I'm sorry, you didn't see Silent Night Deadly Night at all either. You said okay, great.
Actually, I saw it last night.
Yeah.
Silent Night Deadly Night or Black Christmas? Oh, you did. You saw both. Okay.
I saw both.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm
excited
in your thoughts.
And then I was watching. I didn't get to see the end of it, but Elves.
Oh, you did. I wanted to watch that one.
Oh, yep. Wow. Oh, wow. That movie was put together with Elmer's glue and rubber bands. Wow. Man. Yeah. And was it directed by what was that guy in Grizzly Adams with the beard? Dan
Haggerty.
Haggerty, man.
All
I was
right.
like, oh, wow. Because as soon as I saw him, I recognized him. I was like, oh, I remember that.
He stars in it too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's, he's got a role in it. Yeah, I didn't finish watching it, but yeah, that was super low budget, man. It was pretty
so yeah, because
funny.
we were just talking about that, and I wanted to go see that one because I never saw it, and I was reading about it, and I was like, this sounds insanely 80s and just fun.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I guess you'll be able to maybe tell us a little more about how it was, but I thought this was going to be an easy list, and it was not. This was a hard list for me. I quickly realized looking through this list that most evil Santa movies and stuff like that, which I hadn't realized before, besides a few in the 80s that took place then, and 70s to 80s, most of them are 2005 to 2015,
right?
And that is not an area that I watch a lot of, so I'm just I haven't seen a ton of these, so
I know
it'll be interesting. So
someone didn't mute themselves.
Oh no. And it is my brother. Okay.
Well, he's gonna have to wait.
He'll have to wait.
Unless he's got horror movies to talk about for Christmas.
No, we've invited him. He's been too busy for us.
Exactly.
Okay, right.
How do I?
So he's a busy man.
Yeah.
And here's part of the thing. I remember I don't remember when Silent Night Deadly Night. What is that? 82?
84.
84?
Yeah.
So I was 15. And I wanted to see that movie so bad. You know, you see a commercial or you hear the hype, and because the buzz at the time was, "How dare you? Santa is
Right.
sacred! Don't you dare!" And people were up in arms.
That
And
was
then
part
my
of the
mom,
downfall of the slasher movie. It was in like '84. Yeah. Because of that movie. That was one of the things.
It really was. So
popularized.
And I remember my parents, "How dare they? This and that. What are they, crazy? They shouldn't make slasher films." I'm like, well, as soon as I heard them complaining about it, I was like, "Oh, forget it. I can't ask them to take me to this movie now," you know? Because back in the day, believe it or not, I don't know whoever was watching this video, but they actually prevented you from going into the theater. I don't know how many times people blocked me from going into to see a horror movie that was rated R, and I was underage. It really just would piss me off. Anyway, for the theaters near my house, I couldn't get in, and so I knew I wasn't even going to try. And at that point, I was like, "Yeah, I'll only ask my mom and dad." And here they are; they see the commercial, and then they start like, "How dare they make this movie?" And so immediately I was like, "Well, they're gonna C block me from this anyway." So I didn't bother asking, but luckily there's cable TV. We had other means, and I watched it on VHS a few years later. So. Magic times.
Yeah, that's a
indeed.
Yeah, like I said, I think my confidence in my own list is probably somewhere between like 65 and 75% right now.
Okay.
Just to be honest, I know it's not a great way to start, but I'm just gonna lay it out there, folks. I was going through and I was seeing I'm just like, I know I missed some stuff, and I know we were talking the other night. I know there's some things that I wanted to see.
Yeah,
I didn't get a chance to, and I just checked out a couple days ago apparently because I was just like Googling. I'm just like, what am I forgetting something? And Bloody Disgusting just put out a list a couple days ago of 120 Christmas movies that's worth a check out. It's got a lot of whole bunch of ones that some I haven't even heard of, and
nice.
I feel like I know a bunch, but not more of the 80s and 70s that I know more of. But there was even a couple of things from them. I'm just like, I didn't know about that.
All right, I'm gonna have to check out that list.
Yeah.
So, what was the name of that movie you recommended, Lenny? The one that with the surprise twist, half an hour in.
So that
maybe
movie,
he'll discuss it.
So I'm going to discuss that. So
it wasn't really horror, but
no, it was a horror movie. But
okay, I know which one you're talking about.
There's always we look at this and other people use this phrase, and there are movies that horror adjacent, type things where you'll see a movie that it's more of a drama, but it possesses such qualities that you kind of you'll put it in that horror category. So.
Yeah, I like using that term. It makes people think I'm smarter than I am. I just kind of pepper it in there.
Adjacent.
That's
pretty intense, man.
Adjacent.
Yeah. Yes. So, like we like to do here, we're very polite for you fuckers, and so the guests go first. So, you little cutie pie. Hold on. Let me touch the screen where your face is. Oh yeah. Ooh. Okay, sir.
Careful! I told you, dirty underwear. I'm wearing dirty
that's
underwear.
Okay. I'm not gonna go below the belt on this one.
Okay.
We'll save that for later.
No finger sniffing.
I don't know why I'm even here. All right, so I'm starting this off, I guess, then?
Wow.
Yeah, man.
That's the Christmas spirit.
All right. So my number 5 it's got a few different names. Is Dial Code Santa Claus.
Oh my God, he is.
Never even heard of that.
Woo! And it's it was you can watch it now pretty easily because they just got it on Shudder, and I know Joe Bob just actually went it, and I watched his his going over it.
Yeah.
Kind of half-heartedly because I was doing something in the background. But it's an interesting movie. So the other names for it are I forgot the number. It's 3615 Code Père Noël. It's a French film, and the other one is Deadly Games. So I think it's most easy to find probably under Dial Code Santa Claus. I think that's what they have it on under Shudder. I'm not positive. But this movie, so it's a French movie, and it's from 1989. And the thing that this movie is kind of known for is its similarities to Home Alone. and people kind of, because it's, so this kid is, trapping like a Santa a guy who's dressed as Santa that comes to the house, breaking into the house. It's kind of like, a cat and mouse game kind of thing with that. But he builds a lot of gadgets to kind of like, trap Santa and like, like a Home Alone kind of deal.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of the story, it's not really that similar. So just really briefly, the kid is going online, trying to get in touch with Santa. And this is like, one of the first times you're seeing like online database kind of thing with, he's searching, talking to Santa, like those old message boards. And, he thinks he's talking to Santa. He's talking to this derelict guy and, who ends up, painting his beard and all, going to the house dressed as Santa. And, finds gets him to give him his address. The kid's trying to capture like Santa. He's got all these high tech things and everything. And, this kid who's got, like a ton of money and all, right, in the household. So he's trying to film him, has like, cameras up all over the place. It gets interesting in that, like I said, the gadgets he kind of uses, but also in the fact that, and we spoil the shit out of things here, right? That's
absolutely
what we do. All right. So I'm not going to spoil everything, but he does. It gets to a point where Santa catches him, and it's just like, oh, okay, now you're it. You catch me. So it's not like he was trying to murder him, which is kind of weird. Well, he does murder other people in the house, so it's like there's almost like, I don't know if it's a sexual thing in there or not. Like I said, the last time I watched it was kind of half-heartedly, but I remember just, looking at it, recently when they came back on, I was just like, this is actually a really good movie. It's like a really interesting movie, and it does have some of that horror adjacency, in that it's, the kid's like a kid who loves action movies, so they base it kind of around that a little bit too.
Yeah.
And, kind of like a little bit of an action movie. Did you see this one, Lenny?
I've never seen this one. I've only heard about it, and it's funny, on IMDb. There's a section, if you search for it, it actually pops up as Joe Bob, the drive-in, and because he presented this movie, but it's from 1989.
Recently. Yeah. So yeah, that's my number 5. I think it's an interesting because like a lot of people it wasn't very popular, and now it's kind of it's one of those that's coming back around. And I don't know if it wasn't in print really or what the situation was with it, but I'm a big 80s guy, so
absolutely,
I did dig that aspect of it, and the tie into Home Alone. Again, not really the same thing, but there's some similarities. They tried to, the director tried to sue. After Home Alone came out, saying that it was
he did.
Yeah, I don't know where that went. Wow. I think that's kind of like a sensationalized headline that like a clickbaity kind of thing to try to get that. That's where I'm imagining it comes from, because I don't think it actually went to court, but I've heard, you hear through the grapevine.
That's interesting. Okay.
If you look it up online, it'll say that right away. Cool. But I think that's how they got it back into popularity, maybe. But I'm
gonna have to watch this.
An interesting movie for sure.
Nice, and leave it to Rob to come up with, a fairly obscure movie title that most people have never even heard of it, let alone seen it, and so I always appreciate that, because I knew you'd come up with something that was going to be an oddball. So that's awesome.
There's a couple of those.
Yeah, awesome, cool. All right, Omar.
All right,
regale us with your tales of terror.
All right. Now, I don't have my list is not, I don't really have them in any specific order, but that Better Watch Out, which I watched it last night, I really, really enjoyed, man. That was excellent. I was surprised. And yes, half an hour in, you're just like thrown in for a loop. And I was like, wow.
I told you.
Very, very tight, very well written, very, polished, really good. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yep.
And yes, that twist and the bad guy, a sinister little shit, really good acting, man.
Rob, have you seen it yet?
Unbelievable.
I have, and I got to be honest, I was mixing that up with The Babysitter, because they have similar, kind of similar stories that are swapped around, right?
Okay. Yeah.
It's swapped around. It ends up being like, in that movie, it ends up being, the babysitter with her, you don't see that coming, the babysitter and her, friends and everything. And in this movie, as it ends up being the kid comes out that comes out of nowhere. And I really did like that movie. I will say it's not on my list, just because, I saw it the one time, and like, I think really because there was a lot of hype around it. And maybe I might have got leaked to me beforehand. You know, from
Okay.
spoilers, like you bastards or some shit
Okay,
like that, or
okay.
like I don't know.
Oh, who, us?
Yeah. Oh, ooh, what? Wait. Ooh.
I didn't give anything away. Maybe it was Omar.
No, no, but I'm just so I don't know. Like it didn't stick with me as much, and because I had to actually think about it, and I was like, well, if I had to think about it and remember which one it was, then I can't really go on the list.
Yeah, I hear you.
So that was the only reason. But I do remember it being a very well done movie.
Yeah, I really well. Just to give it out, this is not my number 5, and yeah,
I'd never heard of it. I'd never heard of it until you told me about it. I've actually never heard it. Yeah,
this is from 2016. I think it was released in the States in 2017.
Yeah.
I never really I've heard of it, but I didn't really pay much attention to it. You know, it's a rated R movie too, and for the most part, if it's PG-13, I kind of, my snobbery kicks in, and I'm like, I can't deal with a PG-13 film or whatever the hell I might, my ridiculous parameters for what makes a good horror movie. This is actually a rated R movie, and I had no hopes for this, to be honest with you. It was almost like when Omar and we reviewed recently, what is that, Love and Monsters or whatever.
Right, Love and Monsters. Yeah,
we reviewed that, and I was like, oh my god, PG-13. There's monsters. This is gonna suck, and I was totally taken aback. I was like, all right, this is actually a fun movie. This was enjoyable, and that's how I felt with this. That's why when I messaged you guys, I'm like, holy shit, have you seen this? Like 35 minutes in, and it just makes a right turn, and it's it was not what I expected
not
at
expected at all. Not at all. And it was so tightly done. Like the writing is sharp, all the dialogue, the filming, everything was just so polished. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and you're like, that's that little kid, he's that fuck, you just want to beat his ass. You can't stand him right from the beginning. Do you remember Near Dark, of course, right? You remember Near Dark?
With the vampires?
Remember the young kid vampire?
Yes, he kind of looked kind of adult-like a little, right?
Yeah, but he was a little kid, and he was a vampire or whatever, and he, was, kind of, dealing with the angst of being a little kid, an old man in a little kid's body. That kid, his facial features, his face and his mannerisms reminded me of this guy's friend. So,
right, a little,
yeah. So they were reminiscent of that. But anyway, so there were a lot of things, but this was they were riffing on a lot of stuff, and in fact, there was that scene with the paint can, which was totally Home Alone. Right? Yeah, well, he had that one paint can and throws it off the edge, and he's like, "Are you going to Home Alone him?" And I just was laughing because it was a lot of fun, and it was clever, and it kind of flipped stuff on its ear. Like, all right, this isn't what you expect. And I liked it. And even at the end, you think it's gonna happen in this way, and then they flip it again at the very end. Right. I don't want to give that away because there are certain things in this movie are just too fun. So again, if you don't want to get,
it's a good movie. It was a good movie for sure.
Yeah,
I will say there's definitely something about going into a movie like with low expectations. That just always makes it. I want to go into every movie with low expectations.
I would love to do that. That's the way to do it from going forward.
That's why I don't want to hear anything about any movie anymore.
Me neither.
Like in terms of like when it becomes just everybody pushing it out and all the hype train and everything and all that kind of stuff. Like I just want to stay away from all of it until I see it, and then I'll go back and I'll watch what other people think. But like I try to really avoid that, just because of exactly that kind of a thing. Like I feel like that kind of happened. Like I had that in my mind, and like I might have enjoyed that movie a lot more, like you, because I'm going back and I'm just like, that was a good movie, right? But I already had that in my head, and I'm just like, no, what am I gonna fucking hate about this? So
yeah, because there are times, like I said, movie snobs, we go into this like I'm going into this to dislike it. And sometimes, you kind of set yourself up for failure. But in this case, I was like, I had no idea anything about this film. So I was just like, hey, we're doing research for for this episode, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I've never seen this Christmas one. I'll watch this one. And I was like, holy fuck, you guys got to see this. This is fun. So I like movies that surprise me, and I like it starts off with Patrick Warburton because I was a Putty fan from Seinfeld, and so I liked seeing him at this metrosexual type role that he was in the beginning. Anyway, I'm not going to go on and on about it. It was a fun movie. I recommend it. Definitely a good one to watch. So, all right, Rob.
Yeah.
Lay it on me.
Yeah, my number 4. And we said no Silent Night, Deadly Night for this list, but nobody said no Silent Night, Deadly Night 5. So I went with Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, believe it or not.
Oh,
that is my second favorite one in the. I mean, there's 5 movies, and that is my second favorite one out of them.
Wow, they made 5 of those?
They made they made fucking 5, Omar.
Wow.
They made 5 of them.
Damn.
So listen, it's no part 1. It's no part 1. But I don't really care for any of the other movies, to be quite honest. Part 2, everybody always talks about how that's, such a, like good, bad movie, like we were talking about a little bit before, and how that's such a, it's got a lot of those one-liners and they, like Garbage Day and all that and everything.
Yeah.
But I think that movie's boring as fuck, to be quite honest. I think it's just, half the movie is just footage from the first movie. Just rehashed, and like, so I can't really get, although it is, the other parts are, there's some fun stuff in it. I like 3 and 4 were just boring to me. 5 is the Toy Maker, and it's about a elderly man played by Mickey fucking Rooney.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, who condemned the first movie. Yeah,
he did.
In 1991. So that's interesting.
It's great.
Very cheesy.
It's great because
I had no idea.
You recognize what people will do when they need money.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he was shitting all over this movie apparently, like a couple of years before of like Silent Night, Deadly Night, the first one. So that's interesting. But so he plays an old toy maker, and he has his son. It's like a grown, awkward guy. And what I like about this movie is, I mean, this is this is not a good movie by any standard. It's just a fun movie. And I wouldn't even say it's like, as much of a slasher movie, right? Because like the first one, is a straight up slasher movie.
Straight
up. The second one is kind of like that. The third and fourth, there's some departures there too. This is a little bit of a slasher movie, but it's just a Christmas time movie. And there's all sorts of 80s, like, there's red herrings, but there's also just a lot of curveballs for this movie. And,
really?
There's some suspense in it. I mean, don't expect Academy Awards, but if you like some cheesy 80s fun, and you're just like, well, that came out of nowhere. Like this is a fun movie. The effects, they're fine for what they are for the shoestring budget kind of a deal. The toys are fun. There's some fun deaths and things like that. But really, between Mickey, I can't say his name, Mickey Rooney, and his son, there's some very entertaining scenes as they own this toy shop, and you get the kind of, there are these killer toys that they make, they basically like kill the people that get them, but only some of them, and it's interesting to see how that kind of comes together. So I definitely
have never seen any of these sequels. I have never even seen part 2, which is
I hadn't either. And until I saw part 2 a while back, but then in the last like 2 or 3, maybe like 3 or 4 years, I'm just like, I'm gonna go watch them. And I didn't have no expectations, right? Which is good because I didn't like any of them except
right.
for part 5. I thought was pretty entertaining.
That's awesome.
I don't know. It's like I said. I had a hard time making this list, but that one was, when I was watching it, I was just like, what the hell is going to happen next? And that was fun enough for me.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna have to check it out. That sounds good. And
I recommend.
Shout Factory just redid, and they had released a Blu-ray of part 2. I think they just did part 1 as well, but part 2 was kind of like a fan favorite with that one, just like you said. But I don't know. Other than like mainstream stuff, I tend to stay away from sequels because I've been burned too many times. Even with mainstream stuff, like I got out of like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like for a while there, like I stopped going to see those movies, and I ended up like I would catch them on if a girlfriend wanted to watch a horror movie or something, we'd end up renting something when there was nothing else to rent. But I stayed away from them. Like part 3 was like my last Nightmare on Elm Street film because the sequels just suck after a while.
Can we refer to that as pulling a Lenny from now on when you take a girl to go see Like, he's pulling a Lenny. He's going to show her part 4. Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
part 4.
They're going to make it through that movie. Yeah.
You sick bastard. But
No,
yeah,
but
you know what I'm saying? Like, you're hanging out with a bunch of people, and you're with someone who's like, oh yeah, let's rent some horror movies, and there's invariably some sequels in there that you just really shouldn't have watched.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, for sure. And I think that's, a lot of time more so even with, the big main, movies, because then it becomes like, it's, you're doing the formula of the sales and everything, and you've already got a following, and you can push it out, and you can put more money into your crap, right? So
exactly. And if something's low budget and now they're coming up with a sequel, invariably that budget's even lower the second time.
Exactly.
And it just gets progressively worse.
Diminishing returns.
And especially like, here's a movie like Pumpkinhead. I love Pumpkinhead. I love that movie so much. And Lance Henriksen is just one of my favorite actors to begin with. And him in that movie, he should have gotten an Academy Award. Lance Henriksen was awesome in that. But they made sequels to Pumpkinhead that
I didn't know that.
Fucking god awful. I saw only part 2.
I've seen no sequels. I've heard that the second one was decent, but I don't know.
They lied to you. No. They lied. So anyway, so that's what I'm getting at. It's like, there are so many sequels to these franchises. After a while, I don't even want to bother with them. But now that I hear your opinion on this, I'm gonna go check it out. And I think
would check out 5. Too. That's the only one. Like, and that's what's even more interesting, because you wouldn't think that that someone would say, "Oh, my favorite's 1," and then 5.
Well, that's why you were like, "I'm part 5," because I thought you were going to say part 2, because you're like, no one said I couldn't say anything about a sequel. I'm like, oh, if he's going to pick part 2, and then I'm like 5. I'm like, all right, Mickey Rooney. Like, I had no idea.
Part 2, get out of here. Make way for Mickey Rooney.
Exactly, which is crazy. I can't believe he was in that. All right, part 5. Omar, what do you got for your number 4?
So I'm actually gonna take part 1. First time seeing it yesterday or the day before. Cheesy, fun, ridiculous, over the top, low budget,
naughty,
just fun. Yeah, exactly. Naughty. Impales her on her antlers. Oh, it's just hilarious, man.
Oh man.
I mean, of course, maybe back when I was a kid, if I watched it, I'd have thought, oh, this is terrifying. But as an adult, it's just hilarious, man. I'm dying here. I'm sitting there. Oh my God, this is ridiculous. But a good thing is it wasn't boring at any point. So
no, it's actually a fun movie.
Yeah. It's it was just so ridiculous and over the top. It was so much fun. So much fun.
And I just love the fact that people were up in arms over this movie.
Oh yeah. That I remember. I do remember that they actually, I remember that the local news covered it and talked about, this is so, taboo or whatever. It's so wrong.
They're ruining
Christmas. Christmas. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep, they had these moms with picket signs out there. And,
Oh
man.
It was
awesome.
And it's interesting because for anybody who actually saw the movie's not, I mean, yeah, he's a killer. He's going out and being a killer Santa, but it's really of the movies of that time period for slasher movies. It's more of it's one of the more psychological ones about this kid getting abused and how all this perfect storm comes together for this poor kid. And, it's just like between him seeing his parents get killed by this Santa, him hearing his crazy grandpa tell him things that are just him mumbling about Santa Claus and stuff. And then him going in the, in the Christian orphanage and them giving him all these ideas about sex and sexuality and then having to wear the Santa suit and it all coming together. And this kid's just, he doesn't have a chance.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
He just snaps.
I thought
hardcore.
The story was that they put together something. You're right, like very psychological. There was it wasn't just some ridiculous, reason why he decided to dress up as Santa. Like this was the only costume in the place, like he had a purpose behind his murderous rampage. And you're right, he had no choice. Like the kid didn't stand a chance. So, but it was an interesting and a fun film. And like I said, I wish I could have seen it in the theater when it first came out, but alas, my parents cock blocked me.
Horrible.
Such a shame.
Horrible.
But you have to make sure that you make them watch it.
Oh, they're gonna watch it tonight.
Oh, good.
Oh,
you already planned it.
Wow.
I already did. Like, what movie are we watching tonight? Because every horror movie on my list, I've watched and rewatched with them in the last week. Yeah, I was like, you guys are gonna watch some Christmas themed horror movies. I'm like, oh Christ, what? I'm like, you gotta watch it. And
so do they enjoy it when you make them watch? Do they ever enjoy any of them?
Sometimes, like two movies that did not make my list. So Christmas Evil didn't make my list. But we laughed our asses off watching Christmas Evil. And then recently another movie that was a short. We watched Creep Show did a Halloween special. I mean a Christmas special. Just recently, and we watched that. That didn't make my list either, but it I'll give it out. So it made my what do you call it? I have a brain for it now.
Your short list?
Yeah, it made like my honorable mentions.
Oh, honorable mention. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah. So there are some movies that we watched and we were just laughing and had a good time with. I mean, the ending of Christmas Evil is just batshit crazy.
It is.
What year?
It really is.
Christmas
80.
Evil, 1980.
Yeah. Ooh, I gotta watch that.
Yeah, you gotta watch it. Christmas Evil. So that was the one that I posted a picture on our Instagram. It has a dozen alternate titles.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so check it out as Christmas Evil. So number 4 on my list is a fairly new film, 10 years old now, but Rare Exports. No, nothing here. So in the depths, the depths of,
I watched it the other day, man, and I gotta say, like, I thought as a movie it was interesting, but I didn't see anything horror. I can't even go horror adjacent.
No.
Come on, it's a horror movie, damn it.
Feral
elves, people getting killed.
Yeah, I don't know.
It played like to me personally, and I get what you're saying. Yeah, sure, it has that, and it's got the Santa Claus, it's got the evil Santa Claus, but you don't really even get to see. You just see the horns and it's got like those elves and all running around, and the evil Christmas thing, and it's to me the closest I could say would be dark fantasy, like maybe a dark fantasy.
It's definitely, but if you look up on IMDb, it is an adventure fantasy horror.
Yeah, there just wasn't enough horror.
It wasn't enough horror for you?
I remember watching it because I really wasn't a fan when I did see it. I was kind of like, and it seemed to be like the advertising seemed to suggest that it was horror, and then I watched it and I was kind of like, this really isn't horror to me, at least. It seemed to have certain elements that seemed to suggest horror.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It just didn't. And then the ending was like, whoa, what's going on here?
The ending was one of the parts that I liked the best about it. I thought the ending was interesting. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah,
that's how then you get you understand what the title is then. And it was like, I like how they kind of played around to it. And like I said, as a movie itself, like I thought it was an interesting movie. It was an interesting, it was different than like something I've seen before. I like that. But yeah, I personally I'd agree with you. It's not enough horror for me to be on the horror list.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with you guys. I think there's enough horror in this movie. I think the kid is fun. I think it was a little bit batshit crazy. I like the idea of this feral Santa, that's almost buried in this mountain cave, with these elves. I dig it. I like this movie a lot. I think it's different, just like you said. And it's I don't know. There's something about this film that I find endearing. I think it's pretty cool. And like you said, it is a fantasy, and it's just I put myself in this kid's place of, being a kid, and suddenly you find out that Santa is real, but he's not the Santa that you think of. So I don't know. There are elements of this film that I really enjoy, and so number 4.
All right,
lay it on me. Give me your number 3. Let's go.
Number three for me, I'm gonna have to go with "Don't Open Till Christmas." And,
man!
So I feel like I've been laying it on pretty thick with the sleaze, for this episode, and that's not really surprising since I'm like the slasher guy, right? So that doesn't really. And when I went through it, I'm just like, I was thinking about Christmas slasher movies in general, from the '80s and all, and obviously Lenny Lenny tried to, he slapped away my, Silent Night, Deadly Night, and obviously Black Christmas for good reason, I think, for this list. So I was just like, all right, and I'm looking through some other ones. And the reason that this one kind of made it on there is it's a different type of slasher movie. And I don't think it's really been done very much in that it's not a killer Santa, and that it's somebody killing a bunch of Santa Clauses. There's a bunch, all the people who are, anybody who's a regular person dressed up as Santa gets killed. Some comical ways. It's a sleazy movie. It's a British slasher movie, which you don't see a lot of. And it plays really weird. It almost plays like a little, I don't want to say soap opera-y, but like a little, I don't know. I don't know how to really describe it, because it's got a sleaze element to it. Nothing is, incredibly gory. There's like some brutal scenes, some bloody scenes. It's got Carolyn Monroe in it singing an original song, so that's interesting. I don't know how the hell they afforded Carolyn Monroe for this movie.
I mean, that was probably, they blew their wad on the budget just by getting her in this movie.
So you're saying they blew their wad on Carolyn Monroe? Is that what you're trying to say?
You're quick. That's exactly what I'm saying. And haven't we all, really?
I knew it was gonna go there.
Good.
So I just kind of but I think she's a lovely woman, and I will not speak of her that way.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Sacrilege.
Sheesh.
Sheesh, tough crowd, aye.
I'll tell you.
no, but so look, it's again one of the trashier kind of movies.
I forgot she was in this.
Yeah, did you? I know you saw this, Lenny, because I think you saw it when I showed it. When I was doing the horror club, and I showed it over at Sean's audio occult. I played it there.
Was that one of the nights that I popped in and then had to leave? Because I might not have been there the whole time, because I had Sebastian with me twice.
Well, I remember the one time you brought him when I was showing Maniac, and you thought it was
Maniac and what was the other one?
That night I forgot what I was showing.
New York Ripper.
New York Ripper. So you showed up with your kid, who how old was he at the time? Like 10? 9?
How long ago was this?
Oh, I don't know, like 6, 7.
Let's say 6 years. Let's say 5 to 6 years ago.
Yeah. So Lenny, just a little diversion here. Lenny shows up with this kid. Who's around that.
He was 13 years old, so around there.
He was okay. So right. I thought he was younger. All right. Anyway. So you show up and I'm just like, about to start Maniac, and I'm just like, dude.
No, you were starting New York Ripper. I came in there the Ripper because we were going quack 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 quack. We were
okay. And you thought that And you thought for Maniac, it was Maniac Cop. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, I guess you could show a kid that. But I'm just like, look, man.
Yeah.
Maniac. I'm up for showing kids anything. But
New York Ripper is bad enough, but Maniac? I'm like, no. I got to get out of here.
I can't be showing this at a place where it's like, In
all fairness, I wasn't able to stay. I was coming down because the place that he was showing it was a record store. And so, and the guy, that we were friends with, Sean, the place was called Audio Occult, and so it had horror themed stuff in the place. He had skulls of bats and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He had a whole selection of horror movie soundtracks that we would go crazy for. And he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna show some movies," and I was like, "Oh, good. Well, I got to stop in because Sean has records I need to pick up anyway, so we're gonna stop in." And I had Sebastian.
I'm like, "I'm not showing this kid Maniac."
Like, I have to pause this. He's like, "You can't stay here." It was a fun time, but needless to say, I was like, "Yeah, we have to get the fuck out of here." I was like, I can't show Sebastian.
So I showed it at one of those. So maybe you didn't see it, but one of the things. So just to get for anybody who hasn't seen this or doesn't know about it, one of the things, like I said, one of the interesting things is definitely that it's somebody killing Santa Clauses. It's more of a mystery kind of thing.
Yeah,
very schlocky, very very, very British as well, but it's a British slasher without being a giallo. So you'd think more European, and that side of the world would be more giallo with that. But it's not tried and true slasher, and interesting end to this movie too. Just kind of ends very quickly, abruptly, which is kind of fun for it. A fun movie, a sleazy movie. I would say so. Something interesting I was going to say about it is, so this was made in 1984. And they were trying to kind of liken this movie to the movie Pieces. So the guy who was in, because Pieces was, it wasn't really huge at the time, but it was a very sleazy, slasher movie. Has since become very well known for that. But it was the guy who directed it, and I think this is the only thing he directed. Played, and I wrote his name down because I forgot his name. Edmund Purdon. and he played the role of the dean in Pieces.
Yeah.
Pivotal role in that, and this is him trying to direct, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to build stuff off of Pieces." It didn't fly monetarily,
No.
So it was yes, and he also played a role in this movie. He played one of the detectives, but so interesting kind of piece of history. That's partially why I picked it for that.
Well, anytime you have a movie where Santa's getting castrated,
Yep.
I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm good. I'm looking forward to seeing it. I don't think I've really seen this movie. I think I've seen half of this movie.
It's worth a watch.
I probably saw it on VHS in like '86. I'm thinking back, like I don't remember because I've seen so many movies. But yeah, this isn't one I've revisited, so it's definitely one I'm going to.
It's a popcorn movie to watch with some people. It's one of those
nice.
kind of deals. Yeah.
All right, cool. I have to check this one out too. And like I said, Rob brings the obscure. Whenever he's talking movies, I'm always guaranteed that if he's showing a double feature, one of those movies I've never seen. And it's been like that. Accurate. It's been like that almost every time that I've been there. And one of the movies on my list is a Rob movie. And I didn't know about it until Rob and we went to what was the burger joint in Newburgh that we went to? The Warehouse.
Yes, the Warehouse. Yes,
the Warehouse.
Yes.
A great burger joint in Newburgh in
we're
going
to cross over on that movie. So.
Yeah, I'm sure we are. So a brilliant movie, which we'll bring up in a minute or two. But thank you, Rob, for your selection. And Omar, number 3,
Krampus.
Ooh,
yeah,
nice.
Not particularly terrifying. Just high production. Just lots of fun. Weird ending. Kind of didn't really get the ending. But it was just again really fun horror movie. The design of the creature, of the Krampus was I really liked. It was actually a really really terrifying design. But yeah, definitely enjoyed that one. Saw it a couple of times. I had a great time with that flick.
I agree. And Toni Collette, David, what's his name? Ketchner, I think his name is. Toni Collette's in this. I love her.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And she's awesome in everything she does.
Yeah, so, she's always fantastic.
Yeah, so she's been in 2 of my favorite horror movies in the last 5 years. Hereditary, and now this. So yeah, this is also my number 3. So Krampus is on my list too. And like I said, I was surprised at how many new Christmas themed horror movies there were, because back in the day, there certainly wasn't many to choose from. There were a few, but I definitely think there's been more, like you said, in the last 15 years than any beforehand. This was a great, like you said, high production values. The directing was great. I like the look and feel of this film. It's almost like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, meets a horror movie. Right. It was a really good mashup, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was slick. I liked the creature.
Yeah,
I'm a sucker for a really good creature build.
And it was prosthetics and puppets and stuff like that. I mean,
exactly.
They did have CGI, sure. But they used it when they had to. So they did use some good puppetry and prosthetics, which really is always always good,
preferable.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, if you want to enhance what you're doing and use CGI, that's fine. But I would prefer, especially if you have like this hero, and yeah, the bad guy's the hero in the horror movie. Let's face it. Right. So the hero in this movie, Krampus, is really creepy, and they did a solid creature build on him, and I really enjoyed the hell out of it. Yeah, this was.
I agree. I think that that was my favorite part about the movie. I like the movie. I saw it for the first time last week or the week before.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, so we watched it, and I watched it with Jessica, and we both liked it. Same kind of thing that I felt about. I didn't feel like it was direct. And I mean, it's a horror movie. I can't deny that it's a horror movie, but it felt more of like a family kind of movie than I like. Because I'm a dirty bastard. But I did it. Like I enjoyed it because it was. I liked that they had all the and it wasn't even just Krampus. They had a couple other really good creature builds too. That Jack in the Box thing and all thought was
Oh
really
yeah,
cool.
that was excellent.
They had a couple. Yeah, they had a couple really good ones in there.
Yep.
And that was definitely my favorite part about it. I thought, yeah, I mean, definitely really well filmed. I think it's a good one that you can watch with, if you've got kids, right? Like that's perfect for that because it's, it's got something for everybody. Like if you're a horror fan, you would have, you'd be able to watch it and just be like, oh, especially if you're around, in our age group or something. It's like, oh, you get to see those prosthetic kind of parts of it and that. But also, it's pretty suitable for the kids. There's nothing that's too outlandish in it. And I think everybody.
Yeah, it wasn't like hyper violent or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a PG-13 movie, but it was done in such a way that it's fun for everyone.
Right.
Yeah, and you could tell it had that family-centered, attitude. But then, I didn't quite understand the ending either. I think I get it. Like they all died, right? And then they all they're in his ball, like one of Krampus's balls. I don't know.
Whoa. Settle down, my friend.
Exactly.
Whoa. Sorry.
This is a
family
show.
Talk about Santa's balls.
This is a family show. Can't be talking about Santa's balls.
Let's
no jingle bells.
Yeah.
No.
Jingle bells are fine.
You know what that song is about.
No jingle balls. Yeah.
You know what that song's about, Lenny. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
I'm
you
all
invite
about
me on the
it.
show.
I'm all about the jingle bells.
We're gonna have to talk about this beforehand. If I'm not allowed to talk about,
I'm sorry.
balls.
We should have set the parameters.
I need to be pre-warned. But no, yeah, I really I like.
We'll
it
do
didn't make my list
later on.
it didn't make my list, but I can see the appeal because it covers a wide range.
Absolutely, it was good. Yeah. Solid pick. So Rob, tell us what's number 2.
Oh, number 2, Lenny. So number 2 and number 1. I can kind of switch just on this list just because. All right, so I'm going to say that the one that I was going to use for number 1, I was only going to use for number 1 because it's the more Christmassy movie. It's got more Christmassy themes and things like that. But when I think about it, I like number 1 better than number 2. So
okay.
So anyway, Mike, if that wasn't confusing enough, number 2 is Christmas Evil.
Oh yeah.
I'm a big fan. I think
what a crazy goddamn movie.
It is, and what I like about this movie, and I saw it when I was, I saw it a little bit later. I saw it maybe when I was like in, maybe 18, 19, 20. I don't know, something around then. Something like that. And I was looking for more of like the slasher movie kind of like, violence and everything. And it's more of a subdued movie. It's, it's got the kills. They're not really that graphic and all. But really this movie's really more of a character study, I feel like. And it is, it's cheesy at times. And especially that ending is wonky as hell.
Holy shit. I almost wanted to rewind it and watch it again. But then I realized I couldn't do that.
When I was watching that, I think it must have been like I don't know, like probably 19 or 20.
Okay.
And, but I remember I was watching it like I like downloaded it because I had no other way to watch it and I was poor and like I just I just watched it like and I was sitting there and I was high by myself and just watching it and it was
poor.
Yeah,
he's poor, he's high and alone.
High and poor, it was an interesting time. It was an interesting time period.
Holy fuck!
I could
were you
afford
homeless?
to be both poor and
were
high
you
at
homeless?
the same time.
He was watching it through a glass pane of someone else's house.
Through
the window.
Through the window, he's like
breathing heavy on the window.
So tell us.
Whoops! No, dong out. No.
Oh, that's good. I mean,
Anyway,
it is a character study. I will give you that. It is a character study.
Yeah.
And it starts off. They paint this picture similar to Silent Night, Deadly Night, where as a child you're traumatized and that trauma stays with you.
Yeah.
And then something when you're an adult happens to trigger these memories, and then suddenly, you're off the rails. You have no control about what's about to happen. And that's kind of this movie.
I think that I like this movie more watching it when I was older and not as high, because so let me just why I mentioned that to begin with is then like the movie's pretty straightforward in its delivery.
Yeah.
Then there's that last scene at the end, which I guess we should talk about.
I think we should. Wait, can we back up for a minute?
Yeah.
So I'm watching this movie, and as this drama unfolds, he meets as Santa on Christmas night. After the madness of Christmas Eve and delivering presents and all that other craziness, this guy is batshit crazy, obviously, but he's had a rough night. He's slept in the van. His Santa suit, he looks like a derelict. The suit is filthy, and he encounters these children who are with their parents, and they're walking through this alleyway, and he's talking to the kids, and the kids kind of help Santa. No, Santa's good. He doesn't want to do anything bad. And one of the dads pulls out a switchblade and is going to stab Santa because they heard about the news reports and all this other stuff. And so he grabs the knife and beats the guy up and runs away from the kids. He's not going to hurt children in this movie.
Right.
That's not the premise, and that's not who this character is.
No.
So he's
altruistic in his own mind about everything.
Exactly.
He has playing a code that he lives by.
He's playing Santa. He's delivering presents for good kids. He gives dirt in a sack for the naughty kids. You know what I mean? Like he's delivering the goods for as Santa.
Right.
But as he's going through this guy attacks him and he pulls the knife and he's like trying to struggle with this guy. And then he takes off. He's out of there. And the parents suddenly have torches and they're chasing. It's a lynch mob and they're chasing him through the streets. And it's almost like he's Frankenstein's monster and they're the fucking village. The people, like the villagers, and they're chasing after him with torches.
There's a very strong correlation between that.
It was a Frankenstein monster moment, and that's really what I was like. Are they kidding me with this scene?
Well, I mean,
where do these people get the torches? And you see them building it and lighting it. I'm like, holy Christ!
I think they were kind of trying to, because throughout the movie they also there's some aspects of commercialism and some things about that too, and about like making these cheap toys for kids and everything. And I think they tie it together with like where do they get these fucking torches from? Sure, but I think it was more the symbolism of it was, I think, meant to be that so just like Frankenstein's monster, they created this monster, Santa Claus, right? It's a fictitious thing that's in people, the parents created. Yeah. And now, things have gone wrong. They created this tale. This guy totally believed in Santa Claus, was totally about Santa Claus, always wanted to do all the good things. Just like, Frankenstein's monster, just trying to be just trying to exist. And now the creators go against it. And I thought that was kind of how that tied together to do that. And I thought they were directly trying to mirror that Frankenstein tale. I thought that was kind of clever.
And the Frankenstein's monster, kills a young girl by accident. But this guy murders 3 people on the steps of a church on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
I mean, he's not as similar to the monster as you would hope.
Well, I think that
what better way to die?
But he does kill the guys who are these corporate slugs.
Yes.
That they're doing their best to get over on the spirit of Christmas.
Yes.
So in a way,
everybody.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Len. Finish.
No, go ahead, dude.
What I was going to say is he ends up. So even when he's younger, the way that I view this movie, and this is why I like it as a character study, the things I didn't pick up on as when I was younger, is that so he's younger. He's this this kid that's kind of you're imagining pretty like nerdy, dorky, whatever. Sees that Santa isn't real. It ends up seeing it like the dad, kissing the mom, and then like the brother's like, well, it's not kind of like that's not Santa Claus kind of thing, and he realizes that, and he doesn't want to not believe because this is what he believes in. This is something that's very important to him. He goes upstairs, he cuts his hand, he's going to refuse to. So you fast forward, you see him growing up, and he's just like attached to this Christmas, this idea of Christmas, and he wants to be Santa, and he's like everything is all decorated to the nines in his house with So he's unable to give this up because it seems like he doesn't really have much going on in his life. He's middle management at this, this toy factory where, it's all commercial and all this bullshit. And he wants to do it. He wants to do it for, like I said, the altruistic kind of reasons and the whole story of the tale of Santa. And then, he's keeping tab on the kids and you're just like, first you're like, is this a freaky, like sexual thing? It's not. It's really, he's just like,
he has pure intentions. Nice he's got pure intentions.
He has pure intentions. And in his mind, it's kind of like a broken mind kind of thing where he can't separate from the fairy tale and he can't separate from just these good things and how this couldn't be true. And then when he sees the evidence of it not being true in all the rest of his life, he refuses to, and they're all evil. So it's like it's all in his mind, it's all good. And like I said, the character study, I could go on about it, but the character study really is the part that I like about that, and I think that's going to play off. So at the end part, which
wow.
So he goes off.
So tell us, paint the picture of what happens. They chase him. They chase the villagers. Him, right? Yeah. So go ahead and tell us
Lynch
what
mob's
happens.
chasing him. He's in his van. You're imagining he's pretty
Describe
delusional,
the van for me, will you?
Oh, it's the same kind of van that you have, that one in your driveway.
Yeah. Except
that has the treats in the. It doesn't have the treats in the muffler that fall out when you drive.
Exactly, but not only that, he paints a sleigh. He paints Santa's sleigh and presents and everything on the side panels of his van. So it's a 70s serial killer van. And it's fully painted a white sleigh, the white van with this massive red sleigh. So he's got Santa's sleigh on both sides of the van.
Right. So he's got that going on.
Yeah.
And you see that imagery, and then he's got, like all the town folk like chasing him and everything, and he goes off the side of the road. And then you think he's going to go into the river. Nope. Van flies, the wheels are spinning, the van's flying in the air, and to all a good night, and just flies away.
Yeah,
like he became Santa Claus.
And he starts reciting the Night Before Christmas, the end of that story. He's reciting it, and the van just wheels spinning. He goes flying off this icy bridge.
Because if it's towed by reindeer and
man, he just zooms off into the. You see, it makes a turn and goes into the moon, and just as you. Merry Christmas to all.
So like high 19 me is just like, did I just not understand everything else in this movie? Did I miss
what?
Did I miss everything?
Something? Is he really Santa? It was a wild movie, and that ending kind of spoiled it for me.
A lot of people feel that way.
That's the one thing that really made me not put Christmas Evil on my list, because I wish they would have they should have let him die or let him live. And here's my take on this. I don't like sequels as a general rule. I'm usually disappointed with sequels or remakes. And here's where I'm a hypocrite. John Carpenter's The Thing is a remake. It's my favorite horror movie of all time. The Blob, that was 1987 or whatever it released. I love that movie, and that's a great fucking remake. It's so underrated. So Invasion of the Body Snatchers in 1977, one of my favorite movies. It is just an atmospheric, creepy, and well done horror movie. It's also a remake. So I hate remakes as a general rule, and so where I'm going to violate my hatred for that will be, this movie demands a remake. I think Christmas Evil, they should remake movies that were almost brilliant. They should remake a movie that begs for a larger budget and a better, I don't know, something that would have make you feel like, oh man, they just missed the mark on this movie.
I'd watch it. I kind of like the ending. Like I said, I didn't really get it. For the way I envision it is just, Joe Bob was going on about this because they showed this, on Joe Bob recently, and they were saying, it's kind of envisioned to be like his suicide, right? And then like he's on his head and he's imagining this. I disagree. I don't think it's a suicide at all. I think that there's no reason. I don't think he was. You can see before, like he does give kind of a speech to the brother that could, they could, say that that's the way that it goes. But I think that, if you watch the scene before, like really they're chasing him. He goes off. I don't think it was really intentional. I think that it is his delusional. He does think that but I don't agree with the suicide.
He believes, I don't think it was suicide because they chased him off the bridge. It was not intentional that he fly off the bridge.
Yeah, I don't know why everybody was.
It's not suicide. I agree with you. I think he dies. And I think he flies off the bridge. And for him, he's imagining that that this van is flying off into the moonlight and he's actually Santa because he believed himself to be Santa Claus.
His whole life. So this was his natural end. This is how
I think he dies, and I think the van flew off the bridge, but in his head, he imagines himself flying away.
Yeah, that's what I agree. But I don't know. That's why I kind of dug the ending to it. Like I said, didn't get it as much when I was younger and higher. But didn't. I really.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, I was just thinking there was this one movie. It wasn't a horror movie, but it also had a somewhat similar ending. It was called Radio Flyer.
Oh, I love that movie.
That was a great movie.
But remember,
movie. At the very end, does he fly or doesn't he? And it suggested that he didn't, but at the same time, you see him fly.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of that. You know.
I like open-ended movies, and I like leaving. And I honestly don't think this one's that open-ended. I mean, I think there's only really a couple interpretations, but I like that kind of thing. So that works well for me, where a movie doesn't always hold your hand the entire way. So yeah. Anyway, I'll shut up about it.
No, good discussion, because who would think that we would talk so long about this movie? But it is. I mean, it's not a brilliant film. It is a fun movie, and it's a little bit off the rails. So if anybody who's never seen this movie and is interested in seeing a Christmas movie that is way off the beaten path and is not what you expect, you should check this movie out, because it's definitely one to watch. So Omar, talk to us.
All right.
What's next on your list?
So here's the deal. I'm gonna add this because it kind of set a precedent, I think, and I know you guys are huge fans of Black Christmas.
Oh
don't,
shit!
Don't fucking break my heart. Don't fucking break my heart, Omar. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Don't add anything on our account.
All right. Talk to us.
All right. So yes, it did. I think it was kind of really the whole idea of Christmas horror. I would say pretty much this was the first, I would say, maybe.
I would think so. I would say yes.
For a killer Santa, like a killer. I mean, he's not a killer Santa kind of thing. Are you talking about just like a Christmas movie in general?
Just like a
I think there was one before that, but I would say this movie really set the precedent for this.
Sort of.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I said Christmas Santa because there was a Christmas Santa in, like, Tales from the Crypt and that kind of thing before it was like a thing.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, Tales from the Crypt, the show
and the movie. There was the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The thing is that it was, yes, very original. That it was kind of menacing, but there were times where I was really bored. There were times where between the first killing and the second, there was a huge gap where there just seemed like there was nothing going on. And I was kind of like, all right, get on with it.
This is our fault, Lenny. We hyped him too much.
You did.
Our fault. This is entirely our fault.
Put the blame on you guys.
Hold me.
Yeah.
Hold me.
I'll hold you,
You motherfucker.
I don't know what to tell you.
All right. Listen, everyone's entitled to their opinion, even if it's wrong.
I would actually kind of rather hear this, because I hear everybody always talking high accolades, which are my thoughts on it. But I want to hear yours.
As a first-time viewer, it's just there were points. There were certain, like, for example, slow burn. Like if we say the Shining, right? It was a slow burn, but there was always this unease. There was this tension where you're just like, okay, you're just waiting for things to crack, With this one, all right, you know that the killer was there. You saw him kill somebody, but things weren't happening. It was too static for me, So that's why I was like, there were points where I was just like, all right, come on, do something. Something's got to happen.
Let me pause you for a moment.
Okay.
Are you saying that Black Christmas is on your list and it's number 2?
It is on my list, as because it did. I think it was almost like an important movie for the slasher genre. You
felt compelled to add it.
You're putting it
I
on
felt
by
compelled
default
to add it, but at the same time, it wasn't quite as great as I had anticipated.
Okay.
So you're putting it on here so that Lenny doesn't pee in your soft drink next time.
Exactly.
I got you.
Exactly. I don't want him to go Billy.
While I have excellent aim, he lives in Florida and I'm in New York. It would be super tough. Oh,
yeah, that would be really. Yeah.
But next time you come to New York, you're in trouble.
Exactly. I might not go back to Florida, man.
You might like the taste, like in the movie Hollywood Nights. My dick is in the punch.
Like the taste, folks.
My dick is in the punch. So anyway, you might like the taste, and not that there's anything wrong with that.
Omar,
but here's the deal.
It's tangy. It's tangy.
It's number 2, baby.
Great.
Come on, that's not what you always say.
I disagree about Black Christmas, but I also
okay, good. I don't care about that then. Okay, so yes, Black Christmas. It's not on our list. We're not allowed to talk about it unless you talk about it. Number 2, it is the primogenitor of these types of films. Like it was like 4 years before, or almost 5 years before Halloween became the slasher, the prototype. But the prototype was almost 5 years prior. I talk about these movies, this film all the time. Anytime someone says, "Oh, what are you doing for the holidays?" I'm watching Black Christmas. My brother has a Yule party every year unfortunately not this year, but every year I bring horror theme movies because I just like having horror movies playing in the background, regardless of what I'm doing. And that's one I play every year. In fact, I told my Sebastian, I was like, my son, I was like, guess what we're doing tomorrow? I'm out watching Black Christmas again. And immediately he knew it.
Listen to those disgusting phone calls.
Well, I'm not. That movie sucks. I hate it. And I was like, you're no son of mine. You're my dad. This is weird.
And you're busting my chops.
So I'm busting your chops because you should know better. You have a podcast. My son doesn't. So no, but anyway, so I'm like, no, you're gonna watch it because I force him to watch movies with me, and I that's kind of like he's watched, from The Warriors all the way through whatever movie I might have watched recently. And so now he's 18 and he's like, I'm not watching that with you.
He's like, I'm done with this shit.
He's like, I'm done. He's like, before you forced me to watch these movies, I don't need to watch them now.
Right.
So, and I have nothing to hold over him. He's got his own job. He's got his own money. You know what I mean? Like, I can't threaten him with like, I'm not going to buy that video game for you. He's like, I'll buy it my damn self.
You could be the dad that like in a few years like mails him like random weird stuff though. Like you could mail him like
if he's not still living with me, I will do that.
Okay, so I would do it, but when he's not though, if he's not in the future, I would say just keep doing that, and then you can be the weird something like like his wife gets it in the mail and she's like, oh, it's like something came from my dad, and he's like, throw it away.
Don't even open it.
It's Black fucking Christmas again, isn't it? So Omar, man. I'm gonna step up to bat for you for this actually, because and only in this way. I mean, I for me personally, it's not only one of my favorite Christmas. It would be my favorite Christmas movie if it was on this list, but also one of my favorite slasher movies of all time. But I think
it made our slasher list.
Yeah, it did. But the reason for that also, I think there's something in retrospect about this movie too, because if you're going into this, and I know you're not like a huge slasher guy or anything, so this kind of if after the slasher movie, because this movie wasn't. It wasn't called a slasher movie. Like Lenny was saying, this is before like the main boom, like almost 5 years before Halloween, and then the movies that followed, and Friday the 13th that made it more popular and everything. And it had all those proto kind of things, but at the time when it came out, it wasn't known as that, and it also wasn't, it didn't even do very well. Then afterwards, people kind of found out about it after, and it didn't even do that great on VHS. And then it, when DVD came around, that's when it really kind of popped up again. And people are like, wow, this is so great, knowing now that this is where a lot of these things came from. But so part of it's kind of in retrospect, and like, oh, this is the slasher movie, and this came way before, and it also does that. And in terms of like the pacing and stuff like that, I kind of like it, but I also do think that I can see where you're coming from with that. To me, the movie's really more about the atmosphere, about the killer himself, and just the kind of the mystery around that, and also just the part of just the kind of the brutality of just without there being any gore. So I wasn't supposed to talk about this, so I did, but I'm gonna stop now.
The killer is such a degenerate. I love the phone calls and the fact that the conceit of the killer being in the house. They played on that after the fact. What was the name of that movie? There was a big thing. It was like, he's inside the house. Get out of the house.
Yeah, the other one.
Carol Kane was in that.
Yes,
yeah. I never remember the title of that movie.
I don't, because it's got like, he knows you're alone, or...
Yeah, something like that.
That's the tagline for the other one. I mix it up too.
The thing about this is... Don't answer the phone, maybe?
I think
so. That movie, I saw both of these movies when I was a kid. And I confused the hell out of both of them because of the premise of the killer being in the house. Right. It was very similar, and like I said, I was young, and so I'm like, oh wait a minute, this is the other movie. But I liked the atmosphere, and I liked seeing, oh my God, I liked seeing Margot Kidder drunk off her ass in this movie, just being a lush and a degenerate and just ripping into people and calling them out on bullshit, just being crazy. I liked seeing her in this movie, and she was so clean as Lois Lane, and seeing her like this was just interesting. I really liked her in this movie.
Sure.
But yeah, so I'm glad you saw it for the first time. I'm glad. I don't know if you recorded your reactions or anything like that.
It was too difficult for me to do it, but the thing is, again, is that like that for me, there were no real shocking moments where I was like, oh damn, right. Like there are certain movies like Yeah, again, that the movie we I just watched, which I just mentioned before, where half an hour in, you're like, "Holy crap!"
Yeah, I wasn't
So
expecting
it
that.
didn't. Yeah.
Definitely not a twist movie. For me, it's more
Right.
of this, like the psychological horror of this guy being so fucked up, and just the creepiness and the darkness of that. That's where a lot of it lands.
And then the ending where he's still in the house. The camera's panning away. She's in the house alone. The cop's in the car. Is this cop dead? You know what I mean? Who's the killer is going to.
Who is this killer? Who is this?
Right.
Who is the killer? And we don't know who that killer is. He's gonna probably sneak down and kill the girl, Olivia Hussey.
Yeah, it's hinted that it's the boyfriend, the Olivia Hussey's boyfriend, and so.
But that's why they kill him.
Exactly. Well,
and then it's not.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So at first, you're trying to guess who it is or whatever, and then you think it's him. She kills him, and then you realize the killer's still upstairs.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's asleep. Right.
Yeah, which to me leaves that impact of like that makes it creepier than a lot of the predecessors. I mean, you can't do that every movie, right? So I understand why all the other slasher movies didn't do that, but like that's
that was the first one. That's why I like that movie so much. Yeah. I get where you're coming from. It's not like some movies where I see three or four cars of kids, 5 kids in a car, and they're all going to the same place. And you're like, oh, this killer! I can't wait to see how many kills. There's going to be tons of set pieces. Mm-hmm. The more people in the beginning of this movie, the better it's going to be, because there's going to be a high body count, right? Because that's why you go to see these types of movies. It's not a high body count per se. There's not a lot of violence and gore in this movie, but it doesn't need it. I just love the look and feel. Right. It's cold. It's bleak. John Saxon is in this movie. You can't say no to this. It's just like I said, I can't say this again and again and again and again. But I will. I watch this movie every year at Christmas time. I put this on some Christmas Eve, maybe a couple days before or after Christmas, whatever it is. If I get a chance, I have to fit it in, because I feel like it's part of that bleakness that surrounds the depressing moments of Christmas too, because there's a lot of bleakness to the holidays. A lot of people commit suicide. It's a lot of people feel alone, and it's a very dark, dismal movie. It's not a friendly, fun movie, but there's a part of me that really enjoys that.
And I feel like the only thing we didn't say about it that's worth mentioning, that I think everybody always talks about, but done by Bob Clark, who 10 years later did A Christmas
Story. And A Christmas Story.
Yeah, A Christmas Story directly parallels. Like 10 years later. Interesting.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid. So. Yeah. I have a number 2 here. Oh, I mean, I don't mean that. Number 2 on my list is, and I have Rob to thank for this, because I did not see this movie until Rob and I went to the warehouse.
Oh, you do go on.
Oh. This movie is a French movie from 2007. It's called Inside. This movie is, it's innocuous in terms of its connection to Christmas. This woman gets into a horrible car accident which kills her husband. She's pregnant at the time. 4 months later, she's in her 9th month. The baby is alive, and for some strange reason, she is being stalked on Christmas Eve, and the killer is a woman. And the woman breaks into her home, and the entire movie is about this woman trying to survive the night and survive from this woman who's trying to take the child out of this woman's body. So the movie is intense, it's brutal, and it's relentless. It is relentless. It never stops. And we saw this in public with a bunch of other people. We were at a restaurant. And they have a back room in the restaurant for like parties and whatnot. He set it up there.
I got my pee-pee slapped on that one.
Oh my! Let me just
for showing that.
And I don't know why people would get so upset. it's a.
I have a couple ideas.
I have a couple ideas
just that
as well.
description, you know.
But you have to think about this. If you're going to see horror movies, you have to have some type of expectation of what you're going to see. I'm going to see a horror movie. You have no. I
just want to tell you. So what happened with that? With that show when I put that on is, so everybody that came to come see it loved it. Everybody loved it. The guy who had the play. Even he liked it. People who hadn't seen many. Who were into horror and hadn't seen this, or people who were more into 80s things and hadn't seen too many of the more recent at the time. This is 2007. This movie came out. Everybody loved it, but there were outside of like a curtain. There were like a family having food. So wow. So that was a problem. I don't want to name names because of any, but someone else that was connected to this somehow, not the person who put it on, but someone else that was connected to in some way, is like, he can't be doing this here when there's people eating and stuff. So yeah, I got in a little bit of trouble for that one, but nothing too bad. It was worth showing the movie and having.
It's worth, yeah. But I'm so happy you showed it too, because I didn't. Not only had I not seen it, I'd never even heard of it, and I
have yet to watch it. I still have to watch that one.
Omar, I think the pacing would be more in line with something that you'd enjoy for this movie. It's definitely going to keep you going.
I have no problem with slow pacing, but as long as the tension stays, like again.
This movie's got tension in spades.
Yeah. Oh my God, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and in all fairness, there was a curtain passed by that room, so and it wasn't like so blastingly loud, and it's not like there were people dining right on the other side of that curtain. Anyway, people are prudish about this thing. If you're coming to see a horror movie, you have to have some expectations of what you're seeing. But I get it. If you have it's not necessarily a family friendly place. It's a bar / restaurant, but
I think it was a spacing thing. I think it's like they were trying to,
maybe they parted the curtain to come in.
People they were eating, what's going on? And they're like, we didn't sign up for this. But,
and they see people getting slashed.
I'm glad I got to show it. That's all I can say.
It's a great movie. I can't say enough about it. It's not for everyone. It's a very, very intense movie. You have to prepare yourself if you're going to go see this movie. It's not something that you're going to just watch a slasher movie and have fun with it. It's not like you're going to go see Halloween Part 6.
Right.
Apparently, there's something about these French people in horror, man.
Oh yeah, French extreme horror in the mid 2000s, especially. There was a big boom of that.
Yeah. I never saw it. Kind of was like, I'm not really in the mindset to watch it. It's Martyrs. I know that's extremely brutal.
That's another great movie.
The same time period. I love that movie.
Me too.
To give a correlation, between that and this, I showed my girlfriend. I showed her Martyrs, and she cried, and didn't trust me to show her another. French movie. So when I talked about this movie afterwards, she refused to watch it. So I'm just like, all right, that's fair. I'm not going to push you if you don't.
Yeah.
The French extreme movies of especially the mid 2000s there, they were really trying, I think, to show that they can do horror, and they sure can.
And they could, because there's a certain je ne sais quoi.
Oh yeah.
About French horror movies. Yes, they oh man. So anyway, I could beat a dead horse all night long with this movie because everything about it, the characters, the intensity of the violence in this movie, the fact that, and conversely to what I just mentioned before, where you see a large body count, there's not necessarily a large body count in this movie.
I think 3 or 4 people maybe.
Exactly.
Something like that. Yeah.
And the setting is basically one place. It's Christmas Eve, and it's in this woman's house, and part of this movie, the woman is holed up in her bathroom of all places, and so even the scene doesn't change much either, and it doesn't require it. I mean, there's an intensity to the acting that I seldom see, and so I highly recommend this film. So yeah, that's my number 2. Number 1 is coming up.
That's my number 1. So
Oh, beautiful.
We said there was going to be a crossover there, and that is, I was just debating whether or not to put it number one, just because, when we're talking about like Christmas and all the Christmas imagery, it doesn't have a lot of that. It does take place on Christmas Eve. It does have a snowy, backdrop to it, which plays kind of really to the imagery, especially when they're framing the isolation of this house. Well, it's interesting too because they're trying to frame the isolation of it while it's in suburbia, but. Yeah, I think there was something where don't the lights go? The lights go out in the movie too.
Yeah.
And it's just really trying to isolate it away from while still being in it, which is kind of correlation, right, to like Halloween, right? Like the original Halloween, and like that being like you're in suburbia, but it's Halloween, and you don't know somebody's dressed up, and now they're a killer, and that's kind of what made that so clever. And this isn't as I don't want to liken it to Halloween in terms of the cleverness of that, but the backdrop to the movie is kind of is cool with that. Like that's the only reason that I wouldn't have put it, because this is by far my favorite, of the movies we spoke about, the most well done movie, I would say.
Yeah.
While I like a lot of the other ones because they're cheesy, this is not cheesy at all.
No.
I wouldn't say it's like the perfect movie, but it's a really good mid 2000s. I think a lot of people know about it now that are into horror, where that might not have been the case when it first came out. It came out on. Oh, I want to say it's like one of those like 8 films to die for, or like one of those like when they had the series of like Lenny, you know what I'm talking about, like those Dimension films, or
they had movies that they were releasing that they were independent films, and it was done because we actually went to one of those events where they had like you said 7 or 8 films to die for,
I think that's
and they were showing them in the theater, and you had a chance to catch these different movies. Mulberry Street and a couple of other movies that I actually caught in the theater were like that. And so these were like a one-off showings. They didn't get wide audiences, but there's such a gritty realism to this film that it just... Whew.
For real. And what I was going to say about that is, I had low expectations going into it because I had seen a few of those, and I feel like there was partially some hype around that too, right? When Dimension, I think it was Dimension Extreme, right? And they had the Extreme label, and they were doing the 8 movies to die for. After Dark, maybe it was 8 films to die for, but it was Dimension Extreme. And same kind of thing, though. Yeah, they had these ones, but I felt like they were kind of trying to like push out these other movies and cash in on some of this, and like just having it under a different like category. It's like, oh, these are all like film festival things, and while they were, I didn't like a lot of them that much, but this one, head and shoulders above the rest. Just so good, so well done. Tension up the wazoo.
Oh man, it was awesome.
It just at the end of the movie you find out what the reason for this this stalking is, and it's not something that you could guess it. I would guess you would say, what do you think, Lenny? Do you think you could guess it? I think you could. It's not like it's a complete curveball.
Right.
It's within the realm of guessing, but I don't think I did the first time I saw it. And then the end of it is just it's pretty crazy. Definitely recommend it for anybody who hasn't seen it. I feel like in ways it kind of plays back to the 80s slasher, which is partially why I like it, because it's while it's more of a home invasion movie than like a straight up slasher.
True, that's true.
And which was popular also around that time, and like I think continues really to be, in the horror and suspense field. It's one of the ones that did it really well, and I think that it's it really just it stands like now. It's like a modern cult classic. It's like a modern classic. I think from everybody else that I talked to about it.
You can't hype this movie enough, really. I mean, I know a lot of people will see this and they'll be like, oh, we've seen it, been there, done that, but no, I think you really need to pay attention to the film and really enjoy it for what it's worth.
Worth a watch, but we got to say a couple of shitty things about it because I don't want Omar to think it's to hype him up too much, and then
and let me down.
Yeah,
oh man,
I don't want to let the boy down.
Yeah, watch it. You'll like it. It's kind of okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's all right. What do I know, dude? I put Silent Night, Deadly Night 5 on my list. What do I know?
Exactly. He's got no clue on this one.
I have no idea about anything.
Number 1, he put it at. Oh, come on. All right, Omar, give us your number 1.
All right, well, here's the thing. Again, this isn't, remember, we weren't doing this in order, and I hadn't seen that many Christmas horror movies, and I'm going to steal what you had suggested last time we met, Lenny, by saying Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, wow, you
I'm gonna
bastard.
steal that from you. Yeah,
oh,
yeah. Again,
shit.
it's not like I said. I
Wait a
think my
minute. You
actual
guys gave
number
me
one.
shit. You guys gave me shit when I mentioned that.
I didn't.
But I'm
I
gonna give
didn't.
him
I
shit in
thought
a
it
minute.
was
Hold on.
great.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I
Go
did.
ahead.
I think I'm thinking probably my actual number one probably would be Krampus, but this again I was just kind of mixing it up and everything. So, but yeah, I mean it's just fun. Again, it's clearly a visual movie. It's very artistically done. Of course, not scary or anything, but some of the visuals are intense a little.
Yeah.
For what it is, it's just a fun, fun horror movie.
Absolutely. I love this
Dark and
movie.
the colors, everything. Yeah.
I mean, talk about a movie that spawned merch. I
Oh
mean,
God. Yeah.
holy Christ. I mean,
Right.
and some of this stuff is not only tough to get, but it's super expensive because I got into it and in collectability stuff. And when it first came out, like I have a coffee mug. That coffee mug's probably worth the set was probably worth like $200 or something.
Wow.
My sister had both of them, and I was like, I want one. She actually gave me one of the coffee mugs from her set. So, and I don't use it now because it's just too rare. So I just leave it in my coffee in the cabinet. But it spawned tons of merchandise, and I don't know. I mean, the music and Danny Elfman's music.
Right.
I just bought the soundtrack again. I had it on CD, and Sebastian and I would watch this movie all the time, and whenever we were in the car I would put the CD in and we would sing along to it and just drive wherever we were going. We love that soundtrack too. I just recently bought it on vinyl just to have it, and man, it's just I can't say enough great things about that movie. It's perfect.
See, I was gonna actually say again, but it's not a Christmas movie, so I couldn't put it above. But I actually did enjoy Corpse Bride better. Like for me, it had a more of an emotional impact. I thought it was just really, really good movie. Yeah,
Okay.
but it wasn't a Christmas movie, so I couldn't put it on this list.
Nope, you cannot.
Yeah. So,
I've never seen Corpse Bride, so I know.
Oh,
it's a
you gotta
shame,
see
but
it.
I still haven't.
I never
seen
seen
it.
that either.
Really
I haven't
good.
seen that one either.
I have to check it out.
Should
I know you were
definitely
talking it
see
up the other night. Yeah.
Really good, really good.
All right.
Very, very enjoyable movie.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I mean, for me, it's not personally for me. I don't feel like it's horror, but it's a fantastic movie. I mean, Tim Burton, all the darkness, all of that kind of thing, great atmosphere. Like you said, it's visually stunning. Stands up after all these years, of course. All of that.
Absolutely.
One of my girlfriend's favorite movies. So actually, we're talking about the soundtrack. We went down 2 years ago. That was part of a present that I got for her. We went down to the city and saw Danny Elfman do it live.
Oh man,
wow.
I remember.
And it
I
was,
heard about that. Yeah, I
and
missed that.
it was cool. It was a great. I mean, she loved it, and they played it in the background. They played it to the movie.
That's awesome.
They had so it was really cool. I mean, for me personally, like I don't have a lot of nostalgia with this movie. I didn't see it until many years later. I think I saw it the first time maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. So it didn't hit me in that way. I mean, just watching it though, I'm just like I can appreciate the beauty of it. I can appreciate what I've always loved. Danny Elfman's great, but I've always loved Burton in general. So I mean, like I said, for me, I'm not going to say horror, but
right.
I mean, just a great Christmas time
fun
movie, for sure.
Fun movie.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, it is the nightmare before Christmas, and even though it is Christmas Town, there's a scary element, Halloween element to it. So it's absolutely a horror movie. You can't pass it up. It's
the gifts that were given, creepy stuff coming out. It's just
man, they were horrific.
I know. It's just so much fun. It's so creative. The colors, everything. Yeah.
It is. I will say it's not a traditional scary film.
Yeah.
But it's it's family friendly. But it's wonderful. I love that movie.
Yeah.
You can't say enough. There's another movie that's just a timeless classic that I just love. So,
and what about
good
your
selection,
number one?
my friend?
Yes.
But my number one
Yeah.
is a movie from 1984. It is one of my favorite directors, Joe Dante. This is a fantasy horror comedy, and it is known as Gremlins.
I should have put that on my list. I forgot that that's a Christmas movie.
Gremlins,
I was thinking about it. I told myself to leave it off just because I knew everybody. Yeah, but I mean,
I could have definitely put that on my list. I just forgot.
I had a feeling you guys weren't going to mention it, and I love this movie so much. I saw it in the theater when it first came out. I mean, we had this on VHS. I mean, I had the DVD, although I don't know what the hell happened to it. I love Joe Dante.
Yeah,
one of my favorite werewolf movies is The Howling, and just a bunch of every movie that Joe Dante has done, I've always loved. I always appreciate his work. This movie was such an amazing tale when it first came out. It had all the elements of movies that I loved. The puppets, the crazy situations that the puppets were in. At first, when I first saw this movie, I didn't really. It had some creepy elements. It's got a very dark sensibility to it. And it didn't strike me as necessarily a horror movie at first. But then there were elements of this, like the scene in the kitchen.
Yes.
When
blender and all.
The blender was gory as fuck.
And the microwave.
The microwave. I mean, just
pushing those PG limits,
They and you know what? I don't know. PG-13 in 1984 is like light years away from PG-13 today. They could get away with a lot more cursing and just crazy.
It was with Indiana Jones, I think was the turning point, right? When they made PG-13.
I think it's the Temple of Doom,
Temple of Doom,
Yeah, with the heart scene. Yeah, that was
So I think it was such a new rating, like it was like, what do we do with this? All right, they didn't say fuck, all right, PG-13. It's like
it's true. That's true. I think that was the line you can't cross. But this movie had everything for me. This even just Phoebe Cates talking about her father dressing as Santa and dying in the
so weird,
in the chimney.
Man.
That was like that movie takes a fucking turn when she starts talking about that. I'm like, what's going on? Like, holy shit, this is dark
coming down.
This is dark as hell. Like,
I considered this for my list, and of course it always comes to mind, right? But I didn't want to. I'm just like, it's so popular, I don't want it, but that doesn't detract anything from the movie.
No,
like,
nothing.
I think a lot of times you think that this is that everybody knows this, but then when you go back and you watch some of these movies, you see that there's reasons for that, of why they're so and like some of that comes together, and this movie is not as straightforward of a movie, especially when it came out, as people think of it now, because it's a classic, kind of again in that retrospect kind of a thing. If you go back and watch this movie again now, I think you're going to see that there's some crazy weird things in it. And it doesn't. It's a streamlined story in terms of what happens in it, and there are these rules for these these creatures, right? And there's the whole family oriented thing. But there are these quirky moments that are definitely that make it more of a cult classic than you would think, like a classic. If that makes sense. Just obviously that's based on like grosses and everything like that, but that some other films might have fell into might have been a cult classic as opposed to like this big classic.
I get you. There is, and I think because it is so dark and it rides so many different lines, like it is a fantasy film, and it plays to that kid friendly fantasy, but it's just dark enough to be a scary movie. And there are twisted elements when they become the Gremlins, like when the Mogwai become Gremlins. That movie just goes off the rails.
It does. Yeah. It does.
And it becomes really crazy. I mean, there's everything about it that I love.
The final battle with Stripe. Was intense, man. Especially when he falls into the pool, then the light hits him and he pops out and he's bubbling.
Oh, gnarly.
It's like,
man.
And it's funny because it also, like you guys are talking about the darkness, but there was also this kind of 80s Hollywood sensibility. So it was, which I like that old sensibility, that 80s kind of polished type of, film, very Spielbergian,
Mm-hmm.
And so
because the town
combined it, really combined it well, very well. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, because the town that they're in.
I think that's what made it more in the classic realm. Just that budget really did push it over and let them do some things that otherwise they wouldn't have been able to. And I think it still would have been a great movie, even if it had, if it was coming from a different angle.
And the comedic elements were great. he comes in, one of them, and he's like a flasher, you know. He opens up his coat and he's like, ah, you know.
Yeah, that's why I liked part 2 so much, because they just took all the crazy elements of these the personality of these gremlins, and then they just amped it up. Like they just, you know, part 2 was even crazier.
Well, if you're talking about, when we're talking about sequels, real talk, part 2 and part 1, part 2 is just as good as part 1.
Absolutely.
And I'll say, I agree with you. Limited things in a different way. It's not as dark of a movie. Obviously, you know, that's more stripped away in favor of comedy and in favor of, but I for me personally, I think it's just as fun of a movie. Maybe Gremlins, maybe the first Gremlins is made a little bit better in terms of, like, you know, storytelling and all this, but I would say it's just as fun of a movie, if not more.
I agree with you. We got lucky. We took, and of course it's a horror related movie. I took Sebastian and Anita. The three of us went around Christmas time a few years ago, and we saw a double feature. We saw Gremlins 1 and 2 at the Alamo Drafthouse. Nice. And one of the best double features I've ever seen in a theater, man. It was so much fun. It's just a great time. This is one of those Christmas movies, you know, like Die Hard. I don't care what Bruce Willis says, because he says, no, it's not a Christmas movie. Fuck you, Bruce Willis. You don't know what you're talking about. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. We watch Die Hard at Christmas time too. So there are certain films, you know, for people who are into genre movies, action movies and stuff like that. These movies, they're endearing, and we watch them at certain times because there's a certain feel about them that I want to capture those moments again, you know? And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. And I know a lot of people that we talk to, they feel the same way. But for me, Gremlins is one of those films. I mean, you could not have matched it up with a better holiday. It's totally a Christmas film, and I can't feel any other way about it. So that's the list. 15 horror films. Some of them crossed over, which I was surprised we were able to avoid a lot of those. But hey, you know, what the hell? I mean, when movies are good, they speak to people about, and you know, they bring you into a club, you know, that few people share in this type of thing, you know. But when they do, and they're passionate about it, we could talk about this crap all day long and just, you know, find fun things to talk about. So
for sure.
I love doing this. I'm glad you guys do too. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, well,
we're at the 2 hour
mark. Thank you guys for
mark.
having me for doing this. 2 hours. That was a great time.
That did not feel like 2 hours.
No, it didn't. And you're welcome, Rob, because you know, as much as Omar and I like to do this stuff, and we like to write and do vamps, and we've done a bunch of other stuff, and we're in the process of like getting ready to start another screenplay and stuff like that.
Nice.
I like you know, we love having you around, man. We love having you talk to us about this stuff, and you always bring a fresh element of, oh shit, I've never seen that movie, or what the fuck, what movie is that? I'm
People
always
usually when I bring something to the table, they usually say, I've never seen anything like that.
Yes.
I was talking about physically, but
oh, wonderful.
Movies as well.
Not
in a good way. It's like 4 Tic Tacs sec.
Oh man. Oh, I'm sorry, but it's all right. We still like you, Street Trash.
It develops a sense of humor. You
know? Well, listen, we want to thank everybody for listening to this. We hope everyone has a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, and Chris Mahana Kwanzaa, whatever it is you, if you worship the devil, I'm all in on that too, especially around this holiday. So get your pentagrams upside down and hang them from your stockings.
Satan claws.
Satan claws. Yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed this as much as we do, and thanks for joining us again, and we'll see you guys soon.